I was 20 years old when my father told me to dump the love of my life so my stepbrother could be happy. I remember the moment like a bruise you don't realize is there until someone presses it, unexpected and painful. But it stays with you. We were sitting on the screen porch of the house in Charlotte where I'd lived on and off since my mom died. It was late spring, that confusing season where North Carolina can't decide whether to bake you alive or drown you in pollen. I could barely breathe, and not just from the allergies. My dad had that nervous energy he always got when Beth, the woman he married less than a year after burying my mom, told him to do something he didn't quite agree with but was too much of a coward to say no to. He rubbed his neck, cleared his throat, looked at his shoes. Classic. I'm about to say something that'll piss you off, but I need you to act like it's your fault, body language. He said, "Son, I think you and I both know that Josh has strong feelings for Laura." I blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" He tried to soften it with that folksy dad tone that used to work on me when I was 12. "Beth and we've noticed that things have gotten tense, and we just think maybe it would be best if you, ended things with her." So I laughed. I couldn't help it. It wasn't a normal laugh. It was that startled, breathy kind you do when your brain can't catch up to how absurd life has just gotten. "You want me to break up with my girlfriend because my stepbrother has a crush?" He nodded slowly, as if explaining long division to a kindergartner. "Josh is struggling, you know that. His grades are slipping, he's distracted, and this situation with Laura isn't helping." I almost choked. "He's distracted because he can't keep it in his pants around my girlfriend, and that's my problem?" Dad winced. "It's not about blame, it's about family peace. Family peace. Jesus." Let me rewind. I was 10 when my parents split. Typical we fell out of love scenario, delivered to me in a joint therapy session where I was promised it wasn't my fault. And it wasn't. Except it still shattered me. My mom was my anchor. She was warm in a way my dad never learned how to be. He was a function over feelings guy. The kind of man who showed love by fixing things around the house and paying bills on time. That was supposed to be enough. But when Mom died suddenly, car accident, rainy night, one idiot driver, he barely blinked. I mean, he went through the motions, made the arrangements, wore black, said, "We'll get through this a lot," but he never cried. Not once. Meanwhile, I was 14, shell-shocked and permanently stuck in grayscale. And he moved Beth in within months. Beth, blonde, Botoxed, PTA royalty. Her son Josh was 15 at the time, and we were forced into this half-assed Brady Bunch nightmare. I remember the first dinner with all 4 of us at the table. Beth kept calling herself Mama Duh like she was trying out a sitcom catchphrase. Josh didn't talk much. He just kept glancing at me, then down at his plate like I'd stolen his dessert. It didn't take long to figure out I was the outsider. Beth wanted control. That much was obvious. From the color of the new throw pillows to what time I had to be in bed, she was the self-appointed dictator of that house. She used phrases like respecting the harmony of the home whenever I resisted her rules, which was often. Josh, meanwhile, was her golden boy. Football captain, drama club lead, straight white teeth and a jawline that made him look like a teen soap opera extra. And she backed him like a publicist on steroids. When he wanted the lead role in the school play, she lobbied the drama teacher. When he got a B in chemistry, she blamed the teacher for stifling his creativity. To Josh's credit, he seemed embarrassed by her, but not enough to refuse the benefits. And me? I kept my head down, got through high school, got into UNC on a full scholarship, stayed at Dad's house to save money, paid a small rent, did my own laundry. I played it safe. Then I met Laura. Laura was funny. That was the first thing I noticed. She had this dry, sarcastic humor that cut through the noise. She was the first person who didn't treat me like I was Nam, or Beth's inconvenient stepson. We started dating halfway through sophomore year. I brought her home a few times. She was polite to my dad. She complimented Beth's tacky candle collection. She even laughed at Josh's dumb jokes. But Josh? Oh? He stared at her like she was a fever dream. Like she wasn't real, and he was terrified she'd disappear. At first I brushed it off. Teenage crush, whatever. But then he started asking her weird questions. Following her around the kitchen. Texting her about homework when he didn't even go to the same school. Laura was uncomfortable, she told me. I confronted him, privately. "Hey dude, she's my girlfriend. Stop acting weird." He nodded. mumbled an apology, but it didn't stop. And apparently, Beth caught wind of it. So now, sitting on that porch, with my dad asking me to sacrifice my relationship to protect Josh's fragile ego, everything became crystal clear. I was disposable. Always had been. I stood up. "You want me to leave Laura?" "Fine. I'll leave you instead." I packed my things that night, left the key on the kitchen counter, changed my phone number, crashed at a friend's couch, eventually moved in with Laura. I worked part-time while studying, hustled, paid my rent, built a life, and never looked back. I was 32 when it happened, married, stable job. We just closed on a house in Asheville. A cozy blue Craftsman with a garden Laura had fallen in love with. We were sipping coffee on a Saturday morning when the knock came. Laura answered, then called out, you need to see this." I walked to the door. It was Josh. Same face, older, rougher, faded hoodie, backpack over one shoulder, eyes sunken, voice flat. "Hey," he said, "I need to talk." And just like that, the past stormed back in. Josh didn't look like someone who had just walked across 12 years of silence. He looked smaller, like the years had worn him down unevenly, shoulders hunched, eyes darting too much, voice hollow in the way people sound when they've had too many conversations in their head and not enough in the real world. He stepped inside like it still might be a dream. His eyes flicked around the living room, landing on the framed photo of Laura and me from our wedding, us on a mountaintop in Colorado, laughing in wind that ruined her hair and made her more beautiful than I'd ever seen her. "Nice place," he said, fidgeting with the strap of his backpack. "Thanks," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. You just passing through Asheville?" He shook his head, hesitated. "Not exactly. I was hoping to. I dunno. Talk, maybe catch up." Laura lingered in the kitchen, arms crossed, her body saying what I wouldn't yet. I gave her a small nod and she quietly left the room. I sat across from him on the armchair I'd bought secondhand during grad school. Brown tweed, still smelled faintly of cedar. He stayed on the edge of the couch like a kid waiting for detention to start. "And do you want coffee?" I offered. He looked surprised. "Sure, if it's no trouble." It was, but I made him some anyway. "So," I said, handing him the mug, "what brings you here, after all this time?" He exhaled like he'd been holding it for days. "I don't know where to start, I guess. I've been thinking about everything. What happened, how we left things. And you mean how your mom and my dad asked me to throw my relationship in the trash because you had a crush?" His eyes dropped. Yeah, that." A long pause. I didn't fill it. He looked older than 30, that's for sure. There were creases on his forehead and under his eyes, like grief had been folding him in half slowly, over years. "I didn't want you to leave," he finally said. "I mean, I was a mess back then, and my mom, she made it worse. But I didn't ask her to do any of that, and she told Dad to give me an ultimatum," I said flatly, "and he did." "I know," he said. "She told me, years later." I tilted my head. "Because I was a coward, and because I felt like you were better off." That stopped me, because it sounded sincere, and pathetic, and honest. "Better off without my family?" I asked. He gave a dry, bitter laugh. "Can't always were." He started telling me what had happened after I left. Beth was thrilled, apparently. She told people I'd grown up and found my own way. Josh said the house went quiet. The weird thing was, he missed the noise. Without me there, Beth zeroed in on him. She'd always been intense, but now she was unfiltered, micromanaging everything from his college major to how he trimmed his beard. "I started spiraling," he said. "Didn't know it at the time. I thought I was just lazy, depressed, but now I think it was, like, learned helplessness. That caught my attention," he continued. "Everything I tried, she tore apart. If I didn't do it her way, she found a way to make me feel like I failed her. So eventually I stopped trying." "And you dropped out," I said. He nodded. "Midway through junior year, moved back home. Worst mistake of my life." Beth was furious. My dad, surprise, said nothing. Just nodded and paid bills. Josh floated for a while. Got fired from 3 jobs, spent a year in therapy before giving up. Eventually, he just left. Hit the road. I was in like 7 different states over the last 3 years. Hitchhiked, lived out of a car for a while, did food delivery, temp stuff, got into some dumb shit, got out of it too. I listened, really listened. Not because I felt sorry for him, but because part of me needed to know what happened in the house after I vanished. And then I found you, he said quietly. I knew what was coming next. He rubbed his hands together. I'm not here to beg, man, but I am asking, is there a chance I could stay, just for a little while? I'll find a job, start over. My stomach twisted. Flat out, cold, no. But I thought of Laura. How kind she was to me when I was shattered. How she always reminded me that holding a grudge too tightly cuts the person gripping it. So I stalled. I don't know, Josh. He nodded like he expected that. Even if I can't stay here, maybe you could help me get a foot in somewhere. You know people, you've got a life here. My silence said enough. He looked me dead in the eyes. I know you think I owe you an apology, and I do. I'm sorry for back then. For being weird. For not standing up to Mom. For not talking to you. Saying I didn't say anything. I didn't know what to say, but he wasn't done. But you also left me with her, and that destroyed me. I know it wasn't your fault. But it felt like abandonment. That hit hard, because he wasn't wrong. I didn't owe him anything, but that didn't mean his pain wasn't real. After he left, Laura and I sat in the quiet kitchen. I told her everything. She was quiet for a long time, then said, I don't trust him, but I do believe he's broken. So what do we do? I asked. She looked at me. What feels right to you? Not out of guilt, not out of anger. What's the choice that lets you sleep at night? I didn't answer right away, but I started to feel something I hadn't felt in a while. Not peace, not forgiveness, control. Part 3. The distance between blood and brotherhood. I didn't sleep that night. Josh's words kept circling in my head like a record I couldn't scratch. You left me with her. It felt like abandonment. It wasn't fair. But it was honest. And maybe that made it worse. I watched Laura sleep for a while. Her face softened, no tension, no expectation. The woman I built my life with, the one I chose. Josh came from the life I escaped. And now that life was asking to come in through the back door. The next morning I made 2 cups of coffee and waited. At 8:23 a.m., I heard a soft knock. He was back. Same clothes, backpack slung lower now like it was heavier than it should be. I wasn't sure if I should come, he said. I figured you would, I replied. We sat on the porch. The same porch my dad gave me that ultimatum on all those years ago. I handed him a coffee. Look, I said, staring out at the neighbor's bird feeder. So I'll do the same. I'm not comfortable having you live here, not yet. Josh blinked, didn't argue, but, I continued. There's a month-to-month rental above the bookstore downtown. It's small, cheap, and available. I'll cover your first 3 months, no strings. If you get a job and keep it, I'll help however I can. If not, then we're done. His eyes welled. Because I want to be the kind of person who doesn't become them. He nodded slowly. That's fair. 10 nuts, and hats, 2 shinyao, and I'll ensure. Laura's boundary that night. Laura sat across from me at the kitchen table, silent. I could tell she was chewing on something, so I waited. I'm proud of you, she said finally, but I need to say this once clearly. If he crosses a line again, emotionally, socially, anything, I'm done. I reached for her hand. And you won't have to say it twice. Beth's ghost. A week into Josh's new start, I got a text from an unknown number. I heard Josh is in Asheville. Don't get sucked back in, he's still weak, just like his father. Beth. It took me a full minute to unclench my jaw. I didn't respond, but it told me one thing loud and clear: she knew she was losing control. And narcissists don't handle losing well. I screenshotted the message and forwarded it to Josh without a word. He replied, I blocked her 2 years ago. How did she even get your number? No clue. But I didn't need to know. A month later, I received an email from an old Gmail account I hadn't checked in years. It was from my father. Subject: if you'll read this. I almost deleted it, but something made me click. It was long, winding, full of awkward half-apologies and justifications. He said he'd been forced to choose sides between Beth and me, that he never knew how deep her manipulation went. That after I left, he started noticing patterns. how she isolated Josh, triangulated conversations, pushed buttons until we either obeyed or disappeared. But the part that stopped me cold, Beth once told me she was relieved when your mother died, that she'd been waiting for the real chances to have a family. I felt sick. Not because it was surprising, but because I had always suspected it, and now it was confirmed. He ended the email with, "So I won't ask for forgiveness, but I do want you to know I finally see it, and I see you." I met Josh at a park bench overlooking the Blue Ridge Mountains. It was our 4th weekend catch-up since he'd moved. He looked healthier, still haunted but lighter. I told him about the email. Word for word. He stared ahead for a long time. "She said the same thing to me," he said. "When I was 17, I thought she was joking." She wasn't," I said. He rubbed his hands together. "Oh, so now what?" "You keep moving forward," I said. "We both do. But we do it with our eyes open now." He nodded, tears silent on his cheeks. Josh waited until fall to call her. "Beth." He asked me if he should. If I thought it would help. I told him the truth. Closure isn't something you get from people like her. It's something you decide to take back. Still, he needed to do it, so he called her, on speakerphone, in my living room. The ringtone felt too loud, too familiar, like the sound of old nightmares knocking on new walls. She picked up on the 3rd ring. "Josh?" Her voice hadn't changed. Sharp, calculated, sweetened just enough to sound concerned. Josh cleared his throat. "Hi, Mom. I've been worried sick. You disappeared. Why didn't you tell me?" He cut her off. "I don't need your worry. I need you to hear me." Silence. "I'm done," he said, "with the games, the guilt, the emotional tightrope you made me walk for 20 years. "Excuse me?" she snapped. "You manipulated Dad. You lied to me. You weaponized grief like it was currency, and I let you. But that's over now. I'm Joshua," she said sharply, her voice rising. "And see, I'm your mother." No," he said. "You're a woman who gave birth to me. That's not the same thing." The silence that followed was thick, tense. "Final. I'm blocking this number," he said. "And don't contact me again." And he did. 2 weeks later, my father showed up on our front steps. It was a Sunday morning. I was trimming the hedges when I saw the beat-up tan SUV I hadn't seen in over a decade pull into the driveway. He stepped out slowly. Same worn baseball cap, same calloused hands, but he looked older, smaller somehow. "Can I come in?" he asked. I didn't say anything for a long moment. Then I stepped aside. He sat at the kitchen table, twisting his wedding ring. "Not Beth's, not anymore apparently. And divorced her," he said. "Last spring." I nodded once. "She poisoned everything," he said. "My marriage, my kids, my soul." "She didn't force you to pick her," I said flatly. "No," he said. "That was all me." He looked up, and for once there were no excuses in his eyes. Just age, regret. "I was weak, and you paid for it. Josh too. I can't change that, but I can own it." And then the thing I never thought I'd hear from the man who once told me to break up with the woman who became my wife. "I'm sorry, son." Not whispered, not rushed, just real. I didn't cry, but something in me softened, just enough. Before he left, he handed me something, a framed photo, me and my mom fishing on Lake Lure. I was 8, grinning, holding up a tiny sunfish like it was a trophy. "She always said that was her favorite picture of you," he said. "I thought maybe it should live with you now." I held it in my hands. He stepped back, nodded, drove off. I haven't seen him since, but the picture still sits on the mantle. Josh got a job at the community college, admin work. Started taking night classes too. He adopted a dog from the shelter, a mutt with floppy ears and separation anxiety. He named her Olive. He comes by for dinner on Sundays now. Brings pie sometimes, bad ones, like genuinely terrible. Laura forgave him, slowly, and only because he earned it. We don't talk about Beth. We don't need to. The absence of her name is its own kind of peace. There's a bench on the Blue Ridge Parkway where I sit some mornings. Alone, coffee in hand, fog lifting off the mountains like ghosts trying to get free. I think about the boy I used to be, the one who tried so hard to be good, to make peace, to keep the family together even when they didn't deserve it. He deserved better. I still carry him with me. But now, I carry him forward, not backward. And that's the revenge.